Welcome back to the deep dive. Glad to have you with us, our super curious learner. Today we're tackling a topic that's, well, it's really high stakes, super essential stuff everyone should know, honestly. Whether you're like on the sidelines or just, out hiking. Okay, picture this. It's a classic sports moment, right? Bottom of the ninth, runner steams towards home, slides hard, cleats up, and bam, catches the catcher's gear or maybe some equipment lying around. And it's not just a scrape, it's a deep gash. Blood everywhere, spreading fast. It's intense, scary, and honestly, it can go sideways really fast if people don't know what to do. Because here's the thing, the really critical fact we found, pulled from solid safety resources, severe, life-threatening bleeding, it's the #1 cause of preventable death after an injury. #1.
Preventable, that's the key word.
Exactly. When a simple cut turns into major bleeding, seconds count, literally. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Give you the know-how, how to spot different wounds, and crucially, the exact steps for emergency bleeding control. We're going a bit deeper than just the basics.
Definitely. But before we even talk about a specific wound, we absolutely have to lay down the first rule, the golden rule, really, of any emergency situation. Your safety comes first, period. If you get hurt trying to help, well, you can't help anyone then, can you?
Right, you become another victim.
Precisely. The sources are really clear on this. Only step in to help if the scene is safe. Check for hazards, traffic, fire, live wires, whatever it might be. And if things change, if the situation suddenly becomes unsafe, you have to stop. Get yourself out, and if you can, take the injured person with you. Oh, and use gloves if possible. Protect yourself. This knowledge is no good if you put yourself in harm's way.
Got it. Safety first. Okay, so let's start cataloging the damage. An open wound, basically any break in the skin, right?
That's the simple definition, yeah.
But how the skin breaks makes a huge difference in how we treat it. So let's run through the main types, the roster, if you will. First up, probably the most common one, the abrasion. Think classic road rash, skin scraped off. Usually not tons of bleeding, but uh-oh.
Big risk of dirt, debris, and, infection. Needs a good cleaning.
Then you've got the incision. This is your clean cut. Smooth edges, usually from something sharp like a knife or, glass.
Right. And because it's a clean cut, it can bleed quite a bit initially. But the good news is usually easier for doctors to stitch up neatly.
Okay, contrast that with a laceration. This one's messy. It's a tear caused by blunt force, usually. Jagged, irregular edges.
And that irregularity is key. It often means more damage underneath the skin and, higher infection risk because junk gets trapped in those torn edges.
Yeah.
Much harder to clean properly.
Okay, next, the puncture. Something pointed goes in. Stepping on a nail, maybe a track spike, like you said. Small hole on the outside, maybe?
Often, yeah. Looks small, but it can go deep. That's the danger. Punctures might not bleed much externally, which is kind of deceptive, but deep down there's risk of hitting internal stuff. And a big risk of infection, especially tetanus, because oxygen can't get way down in there.
Right. Tetanus loves those deep, low oxygen spots. Okay, and then the really gnarly ones, the avulsion.
That's where tissue is torn away, but still partly attached, like a flap of skin hanging off.
Ugh. And finally, amputation, body part completely severed.
Yeah. So we have these 6 types, right? But the interesting thing our source points out is that the main complications are kind of universal, just varying in degree. You've got excessive bleeding, general infection, and that specific risk of tetanus.
Okay, so knowing the type helps us anticipate the risks. Now let's talk action. For most everyday cuts, scrapes. The kind that aren't gushing arterial blood. What's the go-to move? Direct pressure, right?
Absolutely. Direct pressure is your first best friend for standard external bleeding.
How do we do it right, especially if it's bleeding pretty steadily?
Okay, step 1. Get a sterile gauze pad, or if you don't have one, a clean cloth. Cover the wound completely. Step 2. Apply firm, direct pressure right on top. Use the palm of your hand and hold it. Don't peek every few seconds. Give it time to work, maybe several minutes.
Okay, hold pressure. But what if the blood soaks right through that first pad? This is where people mess up, isn't it?
Exactly. This is the crucial bit. If blood soaks through, do not take the first pad off. You'll just rip off any flot that's starting to form.
Ah, okay. So you mess up the body's own attempt to stop it.
Precisely. So you leave the soaked pad in place, grab another clean pad or cloth, put it right on top of the first one, and keep pressing. Layer it up.
Layer it up. Got it. Never remove the bottom layer.
Never. Once the bleeding seems to have stopped, you do a quick check for circulation, like check the fingers or toes further down the limb for color and warmth. Make sure you haven't cut off blood flow. Then you secure the pads with a roller bandage. Wrap it snugly over the dressing, tight enough to keep pressure, but not so tight it acts like a tourniquet itself.
Okay, solid advice for most bleeds.
To care for someone with an open wound, begin by covering the wound with a sterile gauze pad and applying direct pressure until the bleeding stops. If blood soaks through the first gauze pad, put another one on top and press harder to apply more direct pressure.
Okay, here we go.
It may take several minutes for bleeding to stop. Do not remove any gauze pads. If the bleeding does not stop, call 911 if you have not already done so. Continue to care for the person and monitor for shock.
So I'm going to check your circulation, okay?
Okay.
Okay. I need you to replace my hand right here. Very good.
Just like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Once bleeding is controlled, check for circulation beyond the injury. Note the temperature and color of the skin and ask the person if there is any tingling or numbness.
Any numbness or tingling of any kind?
No.
Okay. So I'm just going to get a bandage. Okay, I want you to just hold that for a moment, all right?
Okay.
Place the end of the bandage on the dressing at a 45-degree angle. Continue wrapping the bandage over the dressing.
Yeah, thank you for holding that for me.
No problem.
Thank you. You're a good assistant.
Thank you.
We'll get this done. One more. Okay.
Once the dressing is covered, roll out the remaining length of bandage. While holding the bandage, use the index finger of the other hand to split the bandage in half, moving it down and underneath the limb. Bring up the two ends of the bandage and tie them in a bow or a knot.
Okay, so I'm going to check your circulation again, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Check again for circulation beyond the injury. If there is any change, the bandage may be too tight, and you will need to carefully loosen the bandage.
Feel any numbness or tingling or anything like that?
No.
After the bandage is appropriately applied, remove your gloves and wash your hands.
Now, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk nosebleeds. Super common, annoying, especially in sports, right? Ball to the face, maybe?
Oh,
Or just the dry air in an arena?
yeah, nosebleeds happen all the time. The causes listed are pretty common. Trauma, obviously, but also dry air, cold air. Sometimes underlying things like high blood pressure or if someone's on blood thinners.
Right. And the classic movie move is head back, looking dramatic. We all kind of know that's wrong, but why is it wrong? What's the right way?
Oh, yeah, the head back thing, big no-no. All that does is make the blood run down the back of the throat.
Which sounds unpleasant.
It is. It can make you gag or even vomit, which just makes everything worse.
Yeah.
So the right way, have the person sit down and lean slightly forward.
Forward, okay.
Yeah, let gravity help drain the blood out the front, not down the throat. Then figure out which nostril is bleeding. You can use a nose plug or even just some rolled up gauze. If it gets soaked, swap it for a fresh one. Sometimes putting a little skin lube on the plug helps if it's really dry. And then the key step, pinch the soft part of the nostrils together firmly. Hold that pinch until bleeding stops, basically applying direct pressure just, inside the nose.
Makes total sense. Control the flow, keep it out of the throat. Okay, quick brain break. Think about those causes. Trauma, cold air, dry air, high blood pressure, medications. Imagine you've got a young, healthy college athlete, mid-game, hot, humid day, gets a nosebleed. Which cause is probably least likely right off the bat? Host speaker pauses, thinking high blood pressure. Or maybe cold, dry air. Yeah, you got it. While you can't rule anything out completely, in that context, trauma from the game is possible, but underlying high blood pressure is less likely for that demographic than, say, an older person. And hot humid cancels out the cold, dry air trigger. Context matters.
Absolutely. Connecting the situation to the likely causes helps narrow things down. Okay, so we've handled the minor stuff. Now we got to pivot back to the big one. Life-threatening bleeding. Remember that statistic. #1 cause of preventable death after injury. This isn't just first aid anymore. This is potentially life-saving intervention.
Right. This is where the stop the bleed approach comes in, the ABCs. This is the framework you need burned into your brain.
Exactly. So A is for alert. First thing, call 911. Or get someone else to call immediately. This isn't something you handle alone. And be specific about your location. Street address, landmark, mile marker, GPS if you have it. Stay on the line, follow the dispatcher's instructions. Help is on the way, but you need to start the next steps.
Okay, A, alert. Call 911. Then B, bleeding. Find it. Where's the blood actually coming from?
Yes, find the source. And this might mean exposing the wound. You're looking for the serious signs. Blood that's spurting, bleeding that won't stop, large amounts pooling on the ground, or soaking through clothes rapidly.
And you mentioned clothing, especially with athletes in uniforms or anyone wearing layers. It can hide a lot,
A
right?
huge amount. You have to look carefully. Check the arms, the legs, sure. But critically, check the junctional areas where limbs meet the torso. That's the neck, the armpits, and the groin. Major blood vessels run through there.
And there could be more than one wound.
Definitely. Don't stop looking after you find the first one. Do a quick but thorough check.
Okay. A, alert. B, find the bleeding. Now, C, compress. Stop the flow. What are our tools here?
Two main methods under compress, depending on the wound. First is still pressure. Direct pressure, just like we talked about, but maybe even more forceful. Use a clean cloth or gauze, ideally, but in a true emergency, use anything you have, a shirt, a towel. Push down hard directly on the bleeding site. If the wound is large, use both hands. Keep that pressure constant until help arrives. Don't let up.
Okay, direct pressure first.
Direct pressure and pressure bandages are used on non-life-threatening compressible bleeds. Pressure bandages should never tightly encircle the neck or torso, as they may inhibit breathing or circulation to the brain. Our demonstration uses the emergency bandage, but the technique works for other products as well. Know what's in your trauma kit and practice using that pressure bandage. When applying direct pressure, place your hand over gauze or available cloth and apply firm, steady pressure over the wound. Remember, no peeking. Do not remove any gauze that has already been placed on top of the wound. Now let's apply the pressure bandage. The bulky padded area of the pressure bandage goes directly on top of the gauze that covers the wound. Begin wrapping with the first pass of the bandage around the arm or leg and bring the wrap through the pressure applicator. Then pull the wrap in the opposite direction of the first pass and bring it back around. For subsequent wraps, you do not have to place the bandage through the pressure applicator. Pull the stretchy band tight with each pass and continue wrapping until you get to the end of the bandage. For training purposes, tuck the closure bar under the bandage so you can reuse it for practice. After a few minutes, assess the bandage. If severe bleeding develops, consider using a tourniquet.
But what if it's like a really deep wound, a big hole? Just pressing on the surface might not be enough, right?
Exactly. For large, deep wounds, especially in those junctional areas like the groin or armpit or even the torso, simple surface pressure might not reach the damaged vessel deep inside. That's when you need packing.
Packing. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is, but it's incredibly effective. You take sterile gauze if you have it, or again, the cleanest cloth available, and you literally stuff it into the wound cavity.
Stuff it in the wound.
Yes. Push it in firmly, filling up the space. The goal is to get that packing material right up against the bleeding vessel deep down. Keep feeding gauze in until you can't fit anymore. Once it's packed tight, then you apply firm, direct pressure on top of the packing. Again, hold it until help arrives. It will be painful for the person, absolutely. But it can stop bleeding. That pressure alone wouldn't.
Wow. Okay. Pressure first, packing for deep wounds.
Wound packing is for bleeding from the neck, armpit, or groin. It can also be used on an extremity if a tourniquet is unavailable. You cannot pack a wound on the head, chest, or abdomen. Wound packing can be done with either the deliberate or blind techniques as discussed in our Stop the Bleed video. Hemostatic gauze is the preferred material for wound packing. If it is not available, you may use roller gauze, a t-shirt, towel, or other available cloth. We'll start by exposing the wound and placing our fingers inside it. Move your finger 360 degrees around the borders of the wound. If you feel no resistance, the space is empty and should not be packed. If you feel body tissue in all directions, apply direct pressure to the source of the bleeding. Gather a bit of gauze around a fingertip. Advance it to the point of the bleed. Pack each subsequent bit of gauze tightly into the wound cavity while maintaining pressure. Continue packing until the wound cavity is filled. Once the cavity is full, add a mound of gauze over the wound and apply continuous, firm pressure for 3 to 5 minutes if using hemostatic gauze and 5 to 10 minutes if using regular gauze. Without releasing pressure from the wound, apply a pressure bandage. If it bleeds through, apply additional pressure.
Now, what about limbs, arms and legs? We hear about tourniquets. When do they come into play?
Tourniquets are for severe, life-threatening bleeding from a limb only, an arm or a leg. And only when direct pressure or packing isn't controlling the bleed. They are powerful tools, and yeah, they hurt because they cut off all blood flow.
So specific rules apply, I imagine.
Very specific, very strict rules. First, only on arms and legs. Second, you apply it above the wound, about 2 to 3 inches closer to the torso.
2 to 3 inches above, not right on it.
Correct. And crucially, never place it directly over a joint like the elbow or knee. The bones prevent it from compressing the artery effectively there. Place it on the meaty part of the limb above the joint if the wound is below it.
Okay. Above the wound, avoid joints. How tight?
Tighten it until the bright red bleeding stops. Commercial tourniquets often have a windlass, a sort of stick you turn. You tighten that until the bleeding stops, then secure the windlass. It needs to be tight.
And the absolute biggest rule once it's on.
This is critical. Do not remove it. Once a tourniquet is properly applied, leave it on. Only trained medical professionals should remove it, usually in a hospital. Taking it off prematurely can cause the person to bleed out or release dangerous toxins built up in the limb.
Got it. Don't loosen it. Don't take it off. Note the time you applied it if you can.
Tourniquets are used on arms or legs to control major bleeding. Remember, high to survive placement of the tourniquet. Doing so ensures the tourniquet is above the wound, not on it or below it. Tourniquets are painful, but should never be loosened or taken off after application. We will be demonstrating the use of a cat tourniquet. To use on an arm, slide the looped tourniquet above the wound. Place the tourniquet as high as possible. Hold the tourniquet in place and pull the end of the band as tightly as possible. Secure the self-adhering band from the buckle to the windlass clip, but not through it. Turn the windlass or rod to apply pressure until the bleeding stops. This often requires 2 or 3 turns. Then secure the windlass in the clip. Pull the remaining band through the clip and place the securing strap over the clip. Write the time on the tourniquet if possible. To use on a leg, open the tourniquet by removing the band from the friction buckle. Slide the tourniquet under the space behind the knee and then up the leg as high as possible. Wrap the band around the leg and pass the band through the friction buckle. Then bring the band back around the leg and pull it tightly. Bring the band to the windlass clip, but not through it. Turn the windlass until bleeding stops and secure it in the clip. If you have any band left, pull it through the clip and place the securing strap over it. Write the time on the tourniquet if possible. If severe bleeding continues, leave the first tourniquet in place and apply a second one directly adjacent and below it. The tourniquet should be as close together as possible.
Anything else?
Yeah. You can apply it over clothes if needed. Time is critical. And sometimes one tourniquet isn't enough. If bleeding continues, you might need to apply a second one.
Okay, tourniquets for limbs when pressure fails. Powerful tool. But what about those tricky spots? Neck, armpit, groin, where tourniquet just won't work. You mentioned packing, but is there anything else? Any newer tech?
Yes, absolutely. This is where hemostatic dressings come in. This is a more advanced tool, but becoming more common in first aid kits.
Hemostatic, what does that mean?
Hema means blood. Static means stopping. So it's a dressing designed to stop bleeding faster. It's usually gauze that's been treated or impregnated with a special substance. That substance could be minerals like kaolin or other agents, works directly with the blood to speed up the clotting process significantly. It helps the body form a strong clot right at the source of the bleeding.
So it's like super-powered gauze. How do you use it?
Pretty much. Use it much like regular gauze for packing or direct pressure. You apply it directly onto or into the bleeding wound. So for those deep wounds in the groin or neck, you'd pack the hemostatic gauze in, just like we described packing, and then apply pressure.
And the big advantages?
It's especially useful for severe bleeding in places where you can't put a tourniquet. Head, neck, torso, groin. It enhances the effect of direct pressure and packing, helping to control bleeding that might otherwise be uncontrollable outside a hospital. You could even use it on a limb in conjunction with pressure if a tourniquet isn't immediately available or appropriate for some reason. It's a real game changer in trauma care.
Oh, okay, that's definitely good to know about.
Yeah.
So let's recap this whirlwind. This has been incredibly important. We started with understanding wound types: abrasion, incision, laceration, puncture, avulsion, amputation. Knowing the difference helps assess risk, like infection.
Right.
Then we nailed down direct pressure cover, press, and the golden rule. Layer up, never removed the first pad.
So.
We busted the myth about nosebleeds, lean forward, pinch the nostrils.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into the heavy stuff, life-threatening bleeding, the ABCs, alert 911, bleeding, find the source, check everywhere, compress using direct pressure or deep wound packing.
And for limbs, the tourniquet as a last resort, applied correctly and never removed.
Plus the newer tech, hemostatic dressings, especially for those non-tourniquet zones.
Yeah, if you put it all together, it really forms a kind of mental flowchart, doesn't it? A save-a-life flowchart. Assess safety first. Recognize how bad the bleeding is. Then follow the ABCs using the right compression tool for the job. Knowing these steps, having that sequence in your head, means you can act decisively instead of freezing up. It makes all the difference.
It really does. We've basically taken the #1 cause of preventable death after injury and laid out the exact steps you can take to fight back against it. This isn't just theoretical knowledge.
Not at all. It's immediately applicable.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Knowing now that the right supplies, even just basic gauze, maybe a tourniquet, maybe some hemostatic dressing, and crucially, the knowledge we talked about today, knowing that this combo can literally change the outcome for that #1 cause of preventable death.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What steps are you taking right now to be prepared? If you have those supplies, sure. But more importantly, have this knowledge ready to go if, heaven forbid, you ever need it.
Something to definitely consider. Stay informed, stay ready, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.